So welcome to the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee meeting. Can I please remind you that when speaking into your microphone, you need to wait until you see yourself on the screens so the live feed can pick up your comments. If you speak before your image is projected, those listening on the live feed will not hear anything you say. Members, have any apologies from the floor? An apology from Councillor McConville Walker. Any other apologies? Alderman Baxter.
Alderman Moutry.
Alderman Moutry, yeah. Got that. You can say that too, yeah. Declarations of interest then, happy enough to take them as we move through the meeting. So on to the agenda, and first items then, agenda item 3.1 is the policy screening report, and Martina is going to take us through this.
Good evening, members. Members, this is one of the regular screening reports that you receive to this committee. It includes at this stage 10 policies screened and are published on the Council's website between September 23 and November 23. And it is a decision item, so it's recommended that the screening report is issued to the Council's Equality Consultees, which includes the Equality Commission for Northern Ireland, and then it's placed on the Council's website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. No. Thank you, Martina. Members, any questions, comments? Need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Lavery, seconded by Councillor Hare. All agreed? Thank you, members. On to item 3.2 then, the draft performance improvement objectives 24-25. And Martina again.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is another decision item in relation to approving the draft improvement objectives for 24-25 to go out to public consultation, which will take place for a period of 8 weeks. Every year, you'll be familiar that we draft a set of performance improvement objectives, which were then included in an annual performance improvement plan, which is statutorily required to be published by the end of June each year. And the detail is within the report, and the detail of what we intend to go out to consult with, and that will also include our relevant screening as well. When the consultation responses come back, there will be a report prepared, and that will be brought back through committee again before the draft plan is approved as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Martina. Well, members, decisions before any questions, comments? Again, need a proposer, seconder. Proposed by Councillor Hare, seconded by Councillor O'Dowd. All agreed, members? Thank you very much. Moving on then to agenda item 4.1, another decision item. It's the 23-27 corporate plan, and I'll hand over to Elaine.
Thank you, Chair, and evening, members. Members, as you know, the corporate plan is our high-level strategy, which details the vision, values, priorities and commitments for the organisation going forward. We've just closed our public consultation, and there was both opportunity for an online survey as well as 2 online information sessions. Following feedback received, only small edits have been made for clarity regarding the wording used in the commitments and other sections of the document. The changes do not alter the overall tone, message or intent of the document. And there's detail in the report, members, on the feedback that we received on each of the commitments, the priorities and the values, as well as the editorial changes that we made to the commitments themselves. Once the content of the corporate plan has been approved, the document will be fully designed with the inclusion of graphics and images, and officers will work with the communications department to develop a communications plan to go alongside the corporate plan, which will include a soft launch, a protocol, press release and staff comms. In addition to the corporate plan itself, we were consulting on the equality impact assessments alongside that, and no changes were made to those as a result of the consultation. So members, tonight the recommendation is to approve the final corporate plan and the associated screening forms. Thank you.
Well, members, the decisions before you is corporate plan. Councillor Ferguson, bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose this.
mean, this corporate plan will be a North Star for the next 4 years and will provide clear direction, vision, values, key priorities. And thank you to Elaine and her team for all their hard work in developing this piece of strategic work. However, I think there are improvements over the long term to the corporate plan, particularly around how its actions are related to departmental actions, evaluation, and how it's reported on to members. Therefore, I'd like to propose a paper, an improvement paper for members, return to this committee within 12 months for members' decision on potential options to improve the next corporate plan in 2028. And this paper should include areas for consideration such as greater connectedness to council strategies and plans and departmental business plans. Secondly, improvement in reporting. And thirdly, evaluation. If I could just take a few minutes briefly, Chair, just to clarify what those are in terms of what I would like to explain. Connecting the work of the departments with other strategies to the outcomes of the corporate plan would provide members with the reassurance that all work of this council is linked to the corporate plan. Secondly, improvements in valuation to include measures to measure outcomes using impact in a process evaluation, not just metrics evaluation, which uses broad indicators and doesn't establish the causal link between council spend and the outcome. It's the only way we know how good our council interventions are. And thirdly, improving the reporting to members that indicate the change over time from a baseline measurement rather than just a static RAG, red, amber, green status taken at one point in time, so that members can again fully understand the change that is taking place from their decisions and from council spend. So just some reassurance really that this is a longer term improvement proposal that would be guided by members, and it requires research on potential improvements, but we do have 4 years before the next corporate plan. And it really is an improvement agenda to come back to this committee for council decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And really just to ask you, Chair, maybe to Elaine, in terms of member engagement, like we have a series of workshops on corporate plan. We've always had lots of engagement and lots of input into corporate plan. So I'm not actually sure where this is coming from, to be honest, but maybe you could talk us through that process and how members were engaged. I know we do a lot of stuff in council sometimes, and maybe workshops are lost on people and people forget what maybe they were at, but I've certainly been at workshops on corporate plans many times.
Bring you in, Elaine.
Thank you, Chair, and maybe to address some of those comments. So yes, as Alderman Baxter has said, as we go through the process to develop a corporate plan, there is plenty of opportunity for members to engage in that process. That starts usually at the end of the outgoing council term, and we work with the outgoing members there to develop a base plan. Then after the elections, we do some work with the incoming members. So there was opportunity both through council committee, through the governance working group to engage in the corporate plan to that date. And then we held specific sessions with the new elected members when they came into post. That has all led to the corporate plan that we have, but I think a lot of the comments that Councillor Ferguson is talking about is about then how we take that corporate plan and how we link that to the work that we do throughout the rest of the council term. Part of that will fall to the work that we do and how we set up the corporate plan, but part of it will also fall within the work that Martina and her team do around performance improvement, how we report on the business plans, which are really one of our key operational levels to how we deliver our corporate plan alongside the other key strategies and action plans that we have. So I would be happy to work with Martina, and we'll look at bringing something forward that will set out clearly what it is that we already do and what opportunity there may be to strengthen that in the future even for this corporate plan. And I am always open to suggestions. So if there is improvements that we can make in how we develop the next corporate plan, I am open for that conversation, and we'll take that forward with members very happily over this council term.
Thank you, Elaine. Councillor Ferguson, do you want to come back in there?
Thanks, Chair. Just to say I'm happy with what Elaine has proposed, and welcome that she's open to those improvement ideas. And just for distinction for Alderman Baxter, this is not engagement. These are improvement ideas on how we can better our corporate plan. It is long term. We have 4 years until the next corporate plan arrives. And really, as members, we're trying to improve what we do for better outcomes for our residents. So there is a distinction between that engagement. And I'm sure that engagement will continue as we improve our corporate plan in future.
Yeah, just happy to second that and those future improvement mechanisms as well. I think we're all on the same page going forward, and just happy seconding it.
So it's a formal proposal. Then could you go through it again, Councillor Ferguson, just for clarity in terms of what the actual wording of the actual proposal is?
For clarity, Chair, it's a fully considered and costed improvement paper for members, returned to committee within 12 months for members' decision on potential options to improve the next corporate plan in 2028. And the areas that should be included, but not exclusively, but the 3 areas that I'm recommending are greater connectedness to other council strategies and plans, improvement in reporting to members, and evaluation consideration.
Right, members, with a proposal, Councillor McClelland.
Yes, Chair, thanks for letting me in. And it's more just a comment. You know, corporate plans or strategic plans, you know, they aren't really worth the paper that they're written on if there's not linkage in terms of what the organization does or intends doing. So there always has to be linkage. And I would be interested in maybe hearing from officers in terms of how past corporate plans have been signed off. Because I think that would give us some context to the discussion that we're having this evening. Thanks, Chair.
Liam, do you want to come in on that?
I will. I'll make an attempt to answer that, Councillor McClellan, but I may bring in my colleague sitting beside me, Martina, who is maybe more au fait with the process we use then to measure the pieces that sit under the corporate plan. So what has happened with our corporate plans to date and what's intended to happen with the current corporate plan is we have the strategic document there. We have within it high level outcomes that we're hoping to achieve and indications, so examples of actions that we hope to be picked up through that corporate plan. But the 2 real mechanisms by which we deliver our corporate plan are the departmental business plans, which sit underneath that. And every year, every department writes their business plan and brings it through to members. Those are the actions that we are taking. And every single one of those actions must be linked to a priority or commitment within the corporate plan, as should every committee report that comes through council. So you'll know at the top of your documents, you see that on every committee report. So the business plans are the key way that we do that. The other mechanism that we have are then all of the other strategies and key action plans that we would have as council. So in the back of the current corporate plan, you'll see the link to all of those key strategies and documents that we have and where they're contributing to the corporate plan. And it's those strategies and action plans then that contain the detail of the actions that we're taking. It's those that are performance measured, and it's those then that should be being brought through and reported on to council through the relevant committees. The business plans, as you know, there's a very formalised process for that, where members will get a formal update twice a year on the development of the business plans, as well as the business plans themselves for consideration every year at the beginning. And that is the process by which we look at both the connectedness of the corporate plan and the reporting to members.
Thank you, Chair, and Elaine, thanks for your report on your answer so far. Look, I think Councillor Ferguson's idea is only looking to see how we can improve it. She's not looking at paper back next month. You know, there's a good timescale there. and it will outline options. And if there are improvements, the committee will look at them again, possibly 12 months. And at that stage, we can decide whether they're good or not. So I think, it's possibly a good idea. We need to look at areas for improvement. There may not be many, but at least we've considered them. So look, I think I'm happy enough with the proposal.
Thank you, councillor Savage. Well, members, there's a proposal, it's been seconded, and it's really about bringing a paper then next governance next March in terms of how we might improve our process around the corporate plan. Are members happy enough? Yep. Thank you very much, members. So moving on then to agenda item 5.1, and it's the request by the Northern Ireland Motor Club around the Civic Centre building, the car park in Banbridge. And I'll bring in Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. As Chair mentioned, this report relates to the Northern Ireland Motor Club's request to use the Banbridge Civic Centre again this year after the success of last year's event as a staging post for the Ulster Rally. It's proposed the 17th of August, subject to the normal terms and conditions being met around risk assessments and insurances. We're seeking approval for the request. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. I'll bring in councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Look, happy to propose. It doesn't need to have anything said on it. It's great to see the Civic building been open and the ground's been used, so happy to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Savage. Bring in Alban Baxter.
Just a second, Chair.
All agreed, members? Thank you very much. Moving on then, agenda item 6.1 is a bit of welcome correspondence, and Kate is going to take us through this one.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. Yesterday, we received a letter from DFC about council remote hybrid meetings, and appended to the letter were draft regulations. DFC has asked us to provide comments on the draft regulations by the 26th of March. Members, I propose to bring a report to full council this month on the draft regulations for your consideration, and to seek a short extension from DFC to allow for the call-in period to expire following the full council meeting. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Kate. Bring you in, councillor Lavery.
No, thank you, Chair. I was going to propose we respond positively about the needing to bring in hybrid meetings. I know when the first letter came out, the 1st of March, took a lot of us by surprise, given, was it 2 or 3 working days notice, which, to find childcare or other care arrangement for some members was very, very difficult. But maybe we'd be happy to wait for that report, Kate, and full council, because certainly one that we need to act, DFC need to act on pretty urgently to get that legislation in place, but happy to wait for that report for Kate and full council. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, councillor Lavery. Yes, indeed, a very welcome letter from the department. Bring you in, Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, and I suppose depends on what way you look at it, Chair. There's a wide range of views, obviously, on what this is, even within parties. As I imagine there's a wide range of views as well. But if you look at the comments on Armagh last week, you would say it's not too positive in the public eye. The public were more than delighted that councillors were actually getting back to work, and I know maybe people just don't understand how the hybrid meetings work and how people can work from home and all that. But I think it's about setting an example, and certainly no issue with, like hybrid meetings and, certain circumstances where people are sick and all that type of thing. But I think just to have it. And we've seen with the technology issues, and that's what my issue is mainly here, is the technology issue. When you have members coming in, 50% of the time you can't even hear them, their internet connection's bad. You go to have a vote, you nearly have to ring them to try and get somebody to vote. This voting system that was spent tens of thousands of pounds on in this chamber is now is obsolete. So to me, the meetings aren't as efficient, yes, but it has its pros and its cons. Like anything has its pros and its cons. And even within parties, there's those that are for and those that are against. So while some members might think it's positive, there will be members right across Northern Ireland who think it's a negative step. On a personal level, and I'm speaking for myself just personally, I think if you're paid to do a job, you should be in your seat doing your job. But I've used the hybrid meeting in the past when I've been sick and when things have happened, I'm able to come in for a vote and whatever. So there's pros and cons to all these things, but I think just to have a blanket thing to say that it's very, very positive, I don't think it is, because the public certainly don't. If you look at the RMIA and the Lurgan Mail and the comments on there, the public certainly don't think it's all positive. They would rather see councillors here and in the chamber doing the job that they're paid to do. So just to make those comments as well, that's just not all one way.
Thank you, Alderman Banks, for your comments. And to be fair, there has been a good turnout of members at meetings recently in this term anyway, so that's all positive. So members could have a proposer and a seconder to go into committee, either confidential business proposed by Councillor Lavery, seconded by Councillor McClelland. So members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into confidential session of the council. This means that we'll be returning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT please to turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? So could I have a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations that we made in committee? Proposed by Councillor Dowd, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. Thank you, members. In respect of any other business, I have not been notified of any, so that's it, members. Thank you very much for your attendance and enjoy the rest of your evening.